Welcome into the Week 10 recap. Nico is back. What up, Nico?
What up? What up?
All right. It's finally over. Regular season done. How you feel about it, Nico?
Man, it was super stressful, including in redraft. But honestly, I'm glad it's over, so I know what what seed I'm in right now. So
Yeah, there were a lot of scenarios that played out. One of the scenarios that ended up actually playing out is that every single team in the Brady division of redraft had a better record than every single team in the Belichick division.
yeah,
So we'll get to that stuff, but we'll start out with redraft games. So leftist tiers 6-4 defeats no pun intended 5-5. We had to wait until week 10 to get the championship rematch, but this one wasn't as close as that infamous game was. On the backs of Tom Brady and Kyler Murray, leftist tiers prevails again in yet another iteration of the game. This brings leftist tiers overall record against no pun intended to 7-2 in redraft.
Nico's League 6-4 defeats Washington Rednecks 4-6. Nico's League pulls off a big win over the Washington Rednecks by scoring over 135 points. The win was big for Nico's League because Ben Steeler's virginity won, meaning Nico's League wins the third team tiebreaker instead of losing the two-team tiebreaker to leftist tiers. This puts Nico's League up into the playoffs and the other teams fighting for the spot. As for the Washington Rednecks, they find a way to stay out of the last place game in both leagues and will be looking to take a shot at what would be the first title in franchise history.
Ben Steeler Virginity 6-4 defeats Scoob the Delinquent 4-6. Ben Steeler Virginity wins a close game to Scoob the Delinquent after replacing Dalvin Cook with Alexander Madison. After realizing which scenarios were going to play out, Ben Steeler Virginity benefited from losing their own game in the grand scheme of the playoffs. To try and lose, they replaced the number one fantasy running back Dalvin Cook with his backup Alexander Madison, but the New England Patriots defense wasn't up to the challenge for Scoob the Delinquent, and Ben Steeler Virginity was unsuccessful with the attempt. The loss hurts Scoob the Delinquent the most, as they will be fighting to stay out of the lake this year.
Bills Mafia 7-3 defeats Gumpy Grizzlies 2-8. In a game that did not matter at all, Bills Mafia secures the lone 7-3 record and in turn the Brady division title. This is the first division title in franchise history for Bills Mafia and also their very first playoff appearance. We'll see if Bills Mafia can keep the year of fists and win their first ever fantasy championship.
Just want to say congratulations to Bills Mafia there.
Yeah, good work.
Good work. Looking for their first championship. Already made their first playoff. The only person to have ever jumped in the lake. And he is looking good to make a run. All right. So we are past week 10. So there's no power rankings. We've got the seeds. There's no game of the week. There's no nothing. It's ladder time basically. And so we'll give you guys a seeding breakdown. So we'll give you what seeds are, what's up next for those teams, just so that you know what you have to do to try and win a championship. So the 1 seed is Bills Mafia at 7-3. With the win over Gumpy Glizzies, Bills Mafia secures the 1v2 game by winning the Brady Division title. Up next, Bills Mafia will play a 2-week game in weeks 11 and 12. And if they win, they'll get their choice of opponent in the semifinals in weeks 13 and 14. The 2 seed is, no pun intended, at 5-5. Securing the Belichick Division title this week, no pun intended, will bring the league's 5th best record into the 1v2 game against Bills Mafia. Up next, no pun intended, will play a 2-week game in weeks 11 and 12, and if they win, they'll get their choice of opponent in the semifinals weeks 13 and 14.
Third seed, Nico's League 6-4, won the third team in division tiebreaker by having a 3-1 record versus Ben Steeler Virginity and leftist tiers. Nico's League resigned victorious over the Washington Rednecks and will take their team into the only 2-week bye in the league. Up next, Nico's League will have 2 weeks off before they play in the 2-week semifinals against an opponent to be determined. Fourth seed Leftist Tears 6-4 after losing the 3-team tiebreaker to Nico's League, won the 2-team tiebreaker over Ben Steeler's Virginity by splitting the series 1-1 and having more season points for. Leftist Tears wins 5 games in a row and storms back into the second best record in the league, which nets them 4 seed. Up next, Leftist Tears will wait on a 1 week bye to see who wins the 5v6 game, whom they will then play in a week 1 game to see who makes it to the semifinals.
5 seed is Ben Steeler Virginity, 6-4. They lost the 3-team tiebreaker to Nico's League and lost the 2-team tiebreaker to Leftist Tears. Ben Steeler Virginity bites the bullet for scoring a low amount of points and ends up at 5 seed despite having a better record than everyone in the Belichick division. Up next, Ben Steeler Virginity will play in the 1-week 5v6 elimination game, and if they win that, will then play another 1-week elimination game. If both games are won, they will be in the playoffs. 6 seed Washington Rednecks, 4-6, won the 2-team tiebreaker over Scoob the Delinquent by splitting the series 1-1 and having more season points for. The Washington Rednecks lose 6 of their last 7 games and end up plummeting to 6 seed, only staying out of the last place game on points for. Up next, the Washington Rednecks will play in the 1-week 5v6 elimination game, and if they win that, will then play another 1-week elimination game. If both games are won, they will be in the playoffs.
7th seed Scoob the Delinquent 4-6 lost to the 2-team tiebreaker to Washington Rednecks. Scoob the Delinquent tragically loses their last 5 games after starting 4-1, which puts them into the last place game on a points for tiebreaker. Up next, Scoob the Delinquent will wait until weeks 15 and 16, where they will play in the 2-week last place game. If they lose that game, they will have to jump in the lake on watch party night. 8th seed Gumpy Grizzlies 2-8, capping off a rough year. Gumpy Glizzies takes the loss to 1 seed Bills Mafia and brings a 2-8 record into the last place game. Up next, Gumpy Glizzies will wait until weeks 15 and 16, where they will play in the 2-week last place game. If they lose that game, they will have to jump into the lake on watch party night.
Week 11 games. So no game of the week or anything like that. This is just everything that's happening in week 11. Number 5, Ben Steeler Virginity versus number 6, Washington Rednecks. In the first week of a 1-week game, the winner moves on to the ladder elimination game 2. Number 1, Bills Mafia versus number 2, no pun intended, week 1 of a 2-week game, and the winner chooses semifinal opponent in that one. All right, that's it for redraft. You know your seeds. Good luck to everyone making a run to the championship. And we'll move on to Dynasty. So, I Am They, 6-4, defeats Prestige Worldwide 7-3. On the very first edition of the game, Dynasty style, I Am They pulls off the win, as many high scorers remain on Prestige Worldwide's bench. Alvin Kamara did the heavy lifting for I Am They, racking up close to 30 fantasy points despite only having 15 rushing yards. The loss didn't phase Prestige Worldwide, though, as their outcome was guaranteed and not contingent on Week 10.
Cummer Dynasty 4-6 defeats Gump Dynasty 2-8. Cummer Dynasty needed a win and a lot of points, and that's exactly what they did. Scoring over 175 points, Cummer Dynasty makes a statement in squeezing their way into the ladder. Every one of their 10 players scored in double digits. Deserved for Cummer Dynasty, as they had begun the unluckiest team all year. They will now get a chance to prove themselves and make a crazy run to the championship.
Stratton Oakmont Inc., 7-3, defeats Nico's Dream Team, 5-5. In an inconsequential game for Stratton Oakmont Inc., they come out on top over Nico's Dream Team. Stratton Oakmont Inc. is locked into the 2 seed, so they will be in the playoffs in the inaugural Dynasty year, and their first year as a Money Row fantasy franchise. Nico's Dream Team will remain just shy of the playoffs, but will have a very good shot to get in with just 1 win needed.
Sneezy Raccoon 74 4-6 defeats the Scoob Empire 5-5 in a must-win game for Sneezy Raccoon 74. They do just that, but fall short in points for thanks to a dominant performance by Cumber Dynasty. Sneezy Raccoon 74 in their inaugural franchise year will be fighting to stay out of the lake.
All right. Seeding breakdown for Dynasty. Do the same thing that we just did for redraft. So, 1 seed, Prestige Worldwide, 7-3, won the 2-team tiebreaker by being 1-0 against Stratton Oakmont Inc. Prestige Worldwide is the inaugural 1 seed and will play in the 1v2 game after winning the 4x4 division title. Up next, Prestige Worldwide will play a 2-week game in weeks 11 and 12, and if they win that, they'll get their choice of opponent in the semifinals, weeks 13 and 14. The 2 seed, Stratton Oakmont Inc., 7-3, lost the 2-team tiebreaker to Prestige Worldwide. Securing the $5 box division title, Stratton Oakmont Inc. will bring one of the league's best records into the 1v2 game against Prestige Worldwide. Up next, Stratton Oakmont Inc. will play a 2-week game in weeks 11 and 12, and if they win, they'll get their choice of opponent in the semifinals, weeks 13 and 14.
3 seed I Am They 6-4. I Am They claims a victory over 1 seed Prestige Worldwide and will take their team into the only 2-week bye in the league. Up next, I Am They will have 2 weeks off before they play in the 2-week semifinals against an opponent to be determined. 4th seed Nico's Dream Team 5-5 won the 2-team tiebreaker over Scoob the Empire by splitting the series 1-1 and having more seasons points for. Nico's Dream Team grabs a hotly contested 4th seed by winning the tiebreaker and will look to see who their opponent is in week 12. Up next, Nico's Dream Team will wait on a 1-week bye to see who wins the 5v6 game, whom they will then play in a 1-week game to see who makes it in the semifinals.
To the 5 seed, the Scoob Empire, 5-5, lost the 2-team tiebreaker to Nico's Dream Team. The Scoob Empire climbs to 5 seed after a 1-3 start, but will be staring down elimination week 11. Up next, the Scoob Empire will play in the 1-week 5v6 elimination game, and if they win that, will then play in another 1-week elimination game. If both games are won, they will be in the playoffs. The 6th seed, Cumber Dynasty, 4-6, won the 2-team tiebreaker over Sneezy Raccoon 74 by splitting the series 1-1 and having more season points for. After splitting their series with Sneezy Raccoon 74, Cumber Dynasty needed to win and score 15.2 more points than Sneezy Raccoon 74. Cumber Dynasty easily covered that number, scoring the most points of the week and staying out of the last place game in both leagues. Up next, Cumber Dynasty will play in the 1-week 5v6 elimination game, and if they win that, will then play in another 1-week elimination game. If both games are won, they will be in the playoffs.
7th seed Sneezy Raccoon 74, 4-6, lost the 2-team tiebreaker to the Cumber Dynasty. Sneezy Raccoon 74 couldn't do much to stop Cumber Dynasty from scoring over 170 points, which puts them into the last place game on a points for tiebreaker. Up next, Sneezy Raccoon 74 will wait until weeks 15 and 16, where they will play in the 2-week last place game. If they lose that game, they will have to jump in the lake on Watch Party. 8th seed Gump Dynasty 2-8. Capping off a rough year, Gump Dynasty takes the largest loss of the year to Cumber Dynasty and brings a 2-8 record into the last place game. Up next, Gump Dynasty will wait until weeks 15 and 16, where they will play in the 2 weeks last place game. If they lose that game, they will have to jump on the lake on Watch Party.
All right, week 11 games. So just all of the games happening week 11 for Dynasty. Number 5, the Scoob Empire versus number 6, Cumber Dynasty. Week 1 of a 1-week game. Winner moves on to the ladder elimination game 2. Number 1, Prestige Worldwide versus number 2, Stratton Oakmont Inc. Week 1 of a 2-week game. The winner chooses their semifinal opponent. Okay. Playoffs, baby. We got there, Nico.
I know. We're here.
Both of the playoff brackets, like the actual, the visual bracket thing, I'll link it in the description of this recap. I'll send it in the group chat, both of them. So you can see the brackets. I'll update them each week, so you can see what happens. And yeah, so just as a little bit of a recap of the recap, um, the two last place games are uh, Scuba Delinquent versus Gumpy Glizzies in redraft, and Sneezy Raccoon 74 versus Gump Dynasty in Dynasty, and that means that there is a chance that Ryan loses both games, which we all know what that means.
Jumping in the lake naked.
So the possible teams that could jump in the lake: Trevor, Ryan, and Stu, and that will be on Watch Party Night. Set your calendars. It'll be either December 27th or 28th, whichever if it's a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, whichever one's the last game of the fantasy season. We'll do it on that night. We'll play some poker. We'll have Nico and I'll have some surprises for you guys.
Yes, sir.
Gonna have a fun time at the watch party night. We'll play some poker and we'll hand out the trophy, hand out the money, and we will get to watch hopefully 2 people jump in the lake.
Yeah. Double the fun, but man, it's one that will be funny as hell.
When we put that rule in that you if you lose both leagues you gotta jump naked, I figured that might happen once, but it wouldn't happen very often, and here we are, first freaking year.
Yeah, for real. That's crazy.
All right, thanks for listening to the Week 10 recap. Gear up, it's playoff time. There's one team in 2 teams in redraft and 2 teams in dynasty that are both subject to elimination this week, so it's big. It's time.
Trade
Good luck
deadline
to
here
everyone.
too.
Oh yeah, sorry, almost forgot about that. Trade deadline. I sent it in the chat. Trade deadline is this Thursday before the kickoff of the Thursday night football game. The app says it is not this Thursday. The app says it's on Monday, I think, or Tuesday, something like that. Next Tuesday or next Monday. If you make a trade after the Thursday night football game kicks off, I will not uphold it. So the deadline is Thursday night before that game kicks off. Make sure you get all your trades in, gear up for the playoffs, get ready for the run. It's going to be fun.
And have a good one.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening to the Week 10 recap. And we'll see you later. Peace.
Peace, peace.